So basically, what is this what to watch thing? I used to do these things where it was like what to watch on Tubi or Netflix or HBO Max stuff. I kind of realized I don't want to do that anymore because I felt like I was rushing it, and I want to do like just a monthly, like here's a bunch of stuff I'm watching on different streaming services. They're not going to be all on the same one. I'm going to talk about them a little more at length and then have a guest on. And this week I thought the first one to be on it was CineRam, who's done so many of the Netflix picks things with me. I had to have him on the first one. It just made too much sense not to. So that's basically what I'm going to do, because I want to make this a little more refined. Actually have the posters next to me when I'm talking about them, all that cool stuff. And I'll do that for CineRams as well. I should have told him I was doing that, and I didn't because I'm a big stupid. So apologies, CineRam, but I will do that. Don't worry. I won't edit his at all because he did a good job. I'm excited for his segment. But let me get to my picks, and I will have the streaming service in the description. This was things that are on the streaming service on January 2021, but they're still recommendations. So, take them as you will. One of the first things, and I really wish more people talked about this, is the new Looney Tunes on HBO Max. Sophie and I have been watching them together. They're a great way to introduce a new generation to Looney Tunes. They're kind of, they just fit right in because HBO Max also has the older Looney Tunes, and those are obviously amazing and classic and things like that. But I really feel like we're undervaluing how good the new Looney Tunes are. I think they're really excellent. They're probably some of the best Looney Tunes stuff I've seen in years. Just wonderfully gets the comedy, gets the voices. Even the Taz is like the old classic version of Taz and everything like that. They're just simple, great fun. If you love Looney Tunes as a kid and you haven't checked this out, you should. They just dropped new episodes. They had a bunch at launch and then a Christmas special, and they just dropped a bunch more. I cannot say enough about these. They're just absolutely wonderful. Of all the reboots that I've seen happening recently, it's probably my favorite because it's probably at least up to the quality of your average kind of Looney Tunes, which is a really hard thing to do, to be honest. I like what they do. They have various segments with like Bugs and like Tweety and Sylvester and Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, and they're just like 15-minute little episodes. They're really great and wonderful, and they're fun to watch with kids. Another HBO Max thing that I watched recently was The Late Shift. I think I've recommended this to before, but rewatching it, it's basically about David Letterman and Jay Leno trying to get to the Tonight Show. It was a TV movie, actually starring Kathy Bates, and the guy who played Letterman he was in Best in Show and things like that. It's actually really good. It kind of goes over the whole drama. The one thing I noticed they don't talk about is the big thing with the Leno thing was that Letterman wanted ownership, which Johnny Carson had, and Leno didn't, and that was kind of the thing that ended it, and they don't talk about that at all. But which is interesting because when people get into that, they don't talk about how that's like a crazy thing to ask for, by the way. But anyway, it's actually a pretty good show. They do a good job. The music's cheesy, but I think it's one of the better of those real life TV movies. It's one that people still talk about today, and there's a reason for it. It actually holds up very well. I finally, and I think this is more of a thing like Jim, you finally did, I've been watching Harley Quinn. It's taken me a long time. It is so much fun. I think it's just like a really watchable, fun, poppy kind of show, but also like I really think it does a better job at doing the Harley Quinn leaving the Joker thing than the Emancipation of Harley Quinn or Birds of Prey or whatever it is. I think it's so much better at it, and it's so much more fun, and I just like, I can't watch just one, to be honest. I love our rapport with Poison Ivy. I love everything. It's just such a wonderful show. I'm definitely gonna go through this show really quickly. I can't because I have like other things to watch, but it's kind of like my go-to. I just want to watch an episode, and then I end up watching two. It is just such a show to fall in love with. As well as now this one on Amazon Prime I haven't watched all of, but I've done a review of it. It's the Small Axe series. There's two episodes. One is the I think it's the Mandrake, which is more about more of kind of a serious civil rights drama. But then Lovers Rock is the one I talked about, which is basically like some arty party movie, and it's really wonderful. Lovers Rock is one of the best films I've seen this year. It's absolutely wonderful. It is not very long at all. It's like a little bit over an hour. You should absolutely check it out. I've never seen a film capture a party so well, and just you can sort of smell the party almost. It's just absolutely a wonderful movie. Hearing great reggae music. The Small Axe series is about the West Indian community in West London, all directed by Steve McQueen. I would like to watch the rest of them and do a review of the whole series, but I've just done a review of Lovers Rock because it was such a standout. I really could not do a review of it. I absolutely love that film, and you should really, if you just want, it's like a good mood piece almost. It's just like a good thing to have on. It's just very positive and wonderful, and just you wouldn't expect that from Steve McQueen, but he just nails the ambience of the party so well. Another thing on HBO Max, which I showed Sophie recently, and if you've never seen this, you should. It's called the Red Balloon. It's a French short film from the 60s, around the time of the French New Wave, but it's not a part of the French New Wave. I do need to do a review of it at some point, but before I do, I really have to say it's just such a wonderful film. There's not much French actually in it, so if you're not really into foreign films, don't worry about it. It's mostly not talking. It's just a kid who likes his red balloon and his journeys with it, and it's just a wonderful, visually simplistic kind of thing, but I think there's a lot of wonderful things you can say without having to say anything. I think Red Balloon does that excellently. Another thing that I watched on Apple Plus, and I do recommend, even though I don't think it captures its subject matter 100% accurately, but I was watching The Morning Show with my wife. I quite like this show, to be honest. Especially Billy Crudup is amazing. I know that I think there's certain things they could have done better, and I think there's certain ways I think you could have done it in a more interesting way, but overall, I got really into it. It has way overcast with Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, and Steve Carell, but they all do their roles pretty well. They probably focus on Steve Carell too much, but it is an interesting look at the Today Show kind of morning show atmosphere in a post-Me Too era. I don't know if they kind of romanticize particularly like the comeuppance of it at the end and don't really talk about the realism of working on a show like that and the lines of Succession and all those things, but overall it's a very watchable show. No one seems to like the middle, but I'd say the beginning and the end are really good. The very end, I'm like, I don't know if that would have happened that way, but whatever. And Dinosaurs is on Disney Plus. I've only watched a few episodes, but that is an insane show. A high budgeted sitcom that talks about social issues. Jim Henson was crazy. I don't have too much to say about Dinosaurs other than it's great. Another thing, I've talked about it before, but I thought I'd throw it in here, is I watch one of my daughter's favorite shows, and kind of the show we watch as a family. Bluey is a wonderful kids show. I think it's great for parents to watch with their kids and not in the way like they make inappropriate jokes only the parents get or something. It's just like a wonderful family kind of atmosphere. It's a I keep saying atmosphere. It's a wonderful kind of family cartoon that everyone can watch together. The kids will love it. Gets into how much fun it is to play with kids, how silly it is, how annoying it is, all those sort of things. They do kind of a surreal episode about going to bed or sleep time, basically. It like gets into like what was it, Midnight Gospel or something like that. It's crazy how good and experimental and weird this show can be at times, but it's incredibly accessible and wonderfully mainstream. And if you know a little kid, it's just a wonderful show, and not one you're gonna get bored and go on your phone with. You'll actually be watching it and enjoying it and talking about Bluey and his dad and his mom, and Sophie sings it along and points to me when she says dad. I really like that show. Maybe this is not for most of you who are too young to appreciate this, but it's just a wonderful cartoon. This is probably like stray things I want to talk about segment, which, hey, let's loosen this up with this. In a complete opposite piece of content, there's this film on HBO Max called Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. It is about a girl who cannot get an abortion in her hometown and has to travel to New York to get one. It is probably one of the few films that can really show crappy New York, which I'm noticing is definitely a new indie movie thing. We really weren't good at that for a little bit, and I notice it's making a cool comeback, so congrats, New York. It's really a really great movie. I think the lead actress, who's getting a lot of awards buzz, I think she has this kind of like silent kind of, it almost feels like passiveness, but you can tell like mainly what's going on with her is internal, which I don't think is something a lot of actresses can do as well as she does. It's heartbreaking. It's hard to watch. It's interesting because what you're getting is basically her journey to get the abortion. You don't fully understand how she got pregnant, the whole situation behind that. And I find that to be actually an interesting way to tell the story. It's almost like more of the quest than what got you on the quest, and it tells it in such a great way. You are wondering that, but the fact that they don't get into it doesn't hinder the film because it's so good at telling its story. And two last things, sorry, CineRam. Heathers, which is on Tubi, which Heathers is a great, maybe it doesn't age well to me. I saw it recently, and I think it ages pretty well. Heathers, which is a great teen comedy, as well as Phantasm, which is a great kind of horror sci-fi thing, which came out right way before horror went all weird with Freddy Krueger. It happened in the late 70s, and J.J. Abrams paid to actually restore it because of Phasma, because sometimes if a director does a really good job, a studio will restore a film of their choice, and that's what he chose. I have heard sometimes Tubi plays the restore one, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what they did, but Phantasm is a great movie. You should check it out. All right, so now let's go to, let me get OBS. Let's go to CineRam, who is now going to talk about his picks on what to watch this month on streaming. And thank you, CineRam, for being here. And let's have CineRam take it away.
Hi everyone, I'm Scott, also known as CineRam here on YouTube, and I've been invited once again by Jim to appear and offer some recommendations for streaming content during the quarantine. Jim has told me that this is going to be a little bit different. Normally I come on here just to do Netflix recommendations, but now it's been opened up to any and all streaming services. I subscribe to several. The only ones that I really don't have at this time are anything basically involving a plus. No AMC Plus or Disney Plus or Apple Plus. However, CBS All Access is about to change their name to Paramount Plus, so at that point I'll have a Paramount Plus service in my quiver. So let me start with HBO Max. I'd like to recommend Innerspace, a Joe Dante comedy from the 80s, which I saw 5 times in the theater when it came out that summer of 87. It's about a grocery store clerk who's played by Martin Short, kind of a nervous Nelly, and things get really difficult for him when he's injected with a test pilot, a character played by Dennis Quaid, who is piloting a submersible capsule and has been shrunk down to microscopic size, and through various shenanigans gets injected into Martin Short. And then he hooks up to his nervous system and starts communicating with him, and they go on a little adventure trying to stop bad guys from doing bad things and stealing the shrinking technology. It's a really, really fun movie. Been one of my favorite movies for a long, long time. My favorite Joe Dante movie for sure. He's the guy who did the Gremlins movies. On Hulu, we've got The Handmaid's Tale, which I'm sure you're already aware of. It's aired 3 seasons so far of this series. And while the 3rd season gets kind of implausible, the first 2 seasons I definitely recommend. Elizabeth Moss is the main character. She, of course, was the star of The Invisible Man. And she plays a woman who's been subjugated and forced to provide a womb for powerful political figure. It's sort of a semi-futuristic version of America that's been taken over by these hardline conservatives that subjugate all the women. Women aren't even allowed to read, let alone write or make decisions for themselves. I really like this show a lot, and the most interesting character to me is the commander's wife, played by Yvonne Strahovski. She's not been forced into this. This was partly her doing. And there's a character, I think, in the 2nd season who remarks that she finds it kind of odd that this woman wrote a book arguing against her own right to write a book in the first place. A character with a lot of contradictions. Not really a nice person. She's done some bad things. She's also sort of a victim as well. Interesting show, really interesting show, and some powerful episodes. Peacock, the NBC streaming service, has Children of Men, the Alfonso Cuarón film from 2006. Also takes place in the near future where babies are very limited. That's the whole gist of The Handmaid's Tale, is that there aren't enough women having babies, and so they're forcing women with healthy reproductive systems to have babies. Now, in Children of Men, there are no babies at all. They haven't been, it's been 15 years or more since any babies were born. And so everyone just kind of assumes the human race is going to die out because in 50 years, everyone's going to be either elderly or dead. But Clive Owen, the main character, is is told basically that there's a young woman who actually managed to get pregnant, and she needs to be ferried to safety. She needs to be brought to some doctors and scientists who can study her and her child and figure out why she was able to have a child when no one else does and possibly save the human race. Now, when this is actually a big action movie. There's lots of incredible set pieces. Alfonso Cuarón directed Gravity, and he directed Roma and one of the Harry Potter movies, and he's incredible. He's got quite a gift for staging these big, elaborate action sequences that seem to be done in one single take without any cuts. Not actually true. They use special effects to blend shots together, but it's quite impressive nonetheless. There's a comedy, a low-budget comedy called It's a Disaster from 2012 that I'm quite fond of. The premise is you have a couples brunch. A bunch of friends who are couples get together for a brunch on the regular. Julia Stiles is one of the characters. She has a new boyfriend played by David Cross, and so she brings him to the couples brunch. But then once everyone's there, they learn that there has been a chemical bomb detonated in their town, and everyone will die. They try and seal up the house as best they can, but then they learn that the chemical is too strong. It's going to permeate all the cracks and fissures, and they're going to die anyway no matter what they do. It's a very, very dark comedy, but it's brilliant. It's a terrific movie, and it's one of those movies that ends on the perfect moment, like the ending of RoboCop or A Quiet Place. Those movies, to me, they end on the perfect moment, and this is one of those films like that. It's a Disaster, and that's available on Amazon Prime and Hulu and Tubi, so lots of ways to watch that one. I strongly recommend it. So Innerspace, yeah. Finally, I'd like to talk about a Netflix series, brand new, called History of Swear Words. This is quite a lot of fun. There are about maybe 6 or 7 episodes, each devoted to a different curse word and its history, and its impact on culture and how each of them have become less taboo, why they were taboo in the first place, and how they've become less taboo with time. I haven't watched all the episodes yet, but I did watch the first episode, which is devoted to the word fuck, and the last episode, which is devoted to the word damn. And they're very entertaining episodes. There's a lot of input from experts, language experts, and profanity historians. Yes, that's a thing, as well as actors and comedians like Sarah Silverman and Nick Offerman. But each show is hosted by Nicolas Cage. And at the beginning of the fuck episode, he begins by staring right in the camera and basically reciting a whole bunch of quotes from movies and shows and even a music video in which the word fuck is used. In fact, he even quotes one of his own movies. And if you recognize the line, if you know which Nicolas Cage movie Nicolas Cage is quoting, then congratulations, you, my friend, have seen a terrible, terrible Nicolas Cage movie. But hey, nobody's fucking perfect. How's that for spicing things up, Jim? Thanks once again for having me on. And thanks to all of you for watching. I hope you enjoy my recommendations if you choose to. If you choose to check them out during your quarantine viewing. I hope you're all safe and happy. Jim, back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, CineRam, for being here. You should subscribe to his YouTube channel. He runs a great YouTube channel. I've been following him for probably like 10 years or something. I don't know. He's a great guy. You should just be subscribing to his YouTube channel. I've had him on this channel many times, and there's a reason for that. Yes, those were my streaming picks, as well as his. Check the description for both the title and the streaming service. Thank you very much for watching, and please tell me what you've been watching this past month and what you would recommend to people below in the comments.